Hey guys, and welcome to Eastern Norway and this terrible weather. Today's a work day, so I'm driving into Oslo, gonna do some work around Oslo and then back home. So today I'm gonna cover a few hundred miles here in the 2018 Volvo XC60. But today's big question is, if I were to buy a new luxury SUV and I didn't need the biggest of the biggest cars and 7 seats, would I choose an XC60 instead of an XC90? And why would I do so if I did? So I just filled up the tank here from almost empty here on the T5 inscription. And the thing to notice is that the fuel tank is quite small at just around 50-55 liters, because I was almost empty and I filled 49 liters, so the tank can't be bigger than maybe 50-52 liters. On the XC90, though being a diesel, the tank size is closer to 70, so gas engine with poorer fuel consumption and a smaller tank will give you much less range. The XC90 with a diesel engine will almost give you twice the range on a tank as this T5 inscription, so that's just something to note for you guys.
Seeing all the reasons we should forget about this place, but I don't wanna leave here if you're just gonna stay, changing like the seasons.
Here on a motorway doing 110 kilometers an hour, about 70 miles an hour on pilot assist 2. As you can see, the car is doing all the steering, all the braking, the distance keeping to the car in front of us. And check out that weather. It is a terrible rainstorm outside. You can barely see out. Visibility is really poor. But this pilot assist 2 is really doing a good job. It's almost doing a better job than what a human would do, keeping within the lanes in these terrible conditions. And to be quite honest, that's very impressive, because this system, pilot assist 2, works really well when it's nice weather, but I wouldn't expect it working this well here in this terrible rainstorm. But the XC90 has the same pilot assist 2, so that's not an argument for this car compared to an XC90, but an argument for Volvo products in general, if you ask me. When it comes to exterior design, I just can't make up my mind which I like better, the XC60 or the XC90. Some days I like the XC90 better, but other days I like the XC60 better. Especially this XC60 in inscription, guys, with extended wheel arches and these gorgeous, amazing 22-inch wheels. I think it's one of the best looking, might just be the best looking SUV on the market today. In the mid-size segment, there's no competition. This looks better than anything else in my opinion. And the same goes for the interior. This interior is just so beautiful. The high quality soft touch materials, real woods and real leathers, fit and finish, and switchgear just feels amazing. But the same goes for the XC90, and the XC90 even takes it a step above this interior in quality of material. So I just can't make up my mind which I like better, the XC60 or the XC90 when it comes to interior and exterior design. Fortunately, guys, the rainstorm has stopped. It stopped raining outside and it looks like the sun is popping out. That's why I put on my sunglasses, but the sun just disappeared behind the building there, so you can take them off. Sitting here in slow moving traffic in Oslo, pilot assist 2, I don't have to do anything really relaxing. You have both this pilot assist 2, you have it both on the XC60 and the XC90 and all the new Volvo cars, so nothing unique to this car. This car has also the T5 gasoline engine, 2 liters, 4 cylinders, 1 turbo and 254 horsepower. I've done about 25 miles to the gallon in the last week, which is quite frugal. I've done a lot of city driving. The police. I've done a lot of city driving and a lot of country driving, a lot of motorway driving, so that's a good mixed figure for what you can expect in the real world. And this T5 engine is, I've said it before many times, it's one of my favorite motors at the moment. It's really smooth, really quiet, and makes a pleasant noise for being a 4-cylinder. It's really refined, and even when you rev it out, it doesn't get noisy. In here, yeah, we're not doing a lot of speed and not using the motor a lot, but you can hear it's a silent and refined motor coupled to this 8-speed ASIN, it's a really nice experience. The driving experience is the big differentiator from this and the XC90. This car sits a bit lower, and especially with this T5 gas engine, it weighs a bit less. Actually a few hundred pounds less, and that weight being lower down in the car, a lower center of gravity, and being less of it, less mass, you notice that on twisty roads and in city driving, in roundabouts. You notice it everywhere because there is much less body motion in the XC60 than in the XC90. The ride, in my opinion, is as composed, might even be a bit better because of better body control. So on twisty roads, this car is better to drive. The XC90 is a tad bit quieter at motorway speeds. This is quieter than my car because this is a gas engine. I have the D4 diesel, so you have more diesel engine noise. So they're about on par regarding noise, but this is a much more pleasurable driving experience. And if I were to choose again what car I was going to drive, it just might be this XC60 because it's a better car to drive. It's more comfortable, better compliance in the suspension, and better body control, meaning less motion, and so on and so forth. The steering feel in the XC90 is better in my opinion. The weighting is better. So there are things that, you know, are pros for this car that are cons for the XC90, and opposite. But again, for my use, I use my XC90 for work, and I travel a lot around Norway, and I'm away for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks at a time, meaning I have to have a lot of space for luggage, clothes, work stuff, and so on and so forth. And when I drove from Bergen at the end of last week and back here to Eastern Norway, I barely had room to put my stuff in this trunk. And this is not a small trunk, but the trunk in the XC90 is so humongous. It just swallows anything. And when you put the seats down, the trunk, the luggage, the carrying capacity of the XC90 just dwarfs this car. So the XC90 is a much more practical car, much more versatile. So for my use, I would probably go for the XC90 again, but with the T5 gas engine making the car weigh a little bit less and be more refined. But if I didn't need the space, I would save myself a lot of money and get the XC60 because this is a brilliant car. I love this car, and it might just be the best SUV on sale today. So I got a question in the comments on my first video of this XC60, and that is, how does the Bowers & Wilkins premium audio sound system in this car compare to the XC90? And well, in my honest opinion, and after having this car on multiple occasions in more than a week now, it's not as good. It's almost there. It's about 9/10 of the Bowers & Wilkins audio system in the XC90, and at first glance it looks like to be the same audio system, but it's not. So the tweeters are the same. You have the same amount of tweeters, but the mid-range speakers and the woofers here in the front doors are not as big, so they're lesser in size. And in the back doors you don't have mid-range, you only have woofers and you have tweeters. So it's 9/10. It still sounds amazing, but the Bowers & Wilkins in the XC90 is just a tad bit better in my opinion. So guys, hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please drop me a thumbs up down below, and for more car content, as usual guys, please subscribe. See you guys later, and goodbye.
Say the word and we can run round the earth and around the sun. Say the word and we can stay. Say the word.